Civics 10, Civic Responsibility. Alabama Civic Standard 10 says, describe individual and civic responsibilities of citizens of the United States. For example, for the individual, respect for the rights of others, self-discipline, negotiation, compromise, and fiscal responsibility. And civic responsibilities including respect for law, patriotism, participation in political process, and fiscal responsibility. Differentiating rights, privileges, duties, and responsibilities between citizens and non-citizens. Explaining how United States citizenship is acquired by immigrants. Explaining character traits that are beneficial to individuals and society. Examples include honesty, courage, compassion, civility, and loyalty. What are the responsibilities of citizenship? As a citizen, one has individual and civic responsibilities. By living up to these responsibilities, citizens contribute to a more harmonious and functional society, a society that is better for all of us. Individual responsibilities include respect for the rights of others, self-discipline, negotiation, compromise, and fiscal responsibility. Respect for the rights of others. If we want others to respect our rights, we must respect their rights. Only through such mutual respect may we live harmoniously together in society. Benito Juarez, a Mexican statesman who saw his country through many difficult times, commented, "Respect for the rights of others means peace." Self-discipline. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines self-discipline as the ability to make yourself do the things that should be done, like your classwork, on time. Self-discipline is required to hold a job, run a business, raise children, or reach any worthy goal. President Theodore Roosevelt stated, "With self-discipline, most anything is possible." This is a man who overcame a childhood illness and grew up to be not only president, but an international explorer, an adventurer, and a soldier. Negotiation. Negotiation is communication to reach an agreement. A peaceful society requires that members reach voluntary agreements, called contracts, that provide mutual benefit to all involved. A contract has to be mutual. One-sided contracts are legally impossible. Contracts are created through negotiation. President John F. Kennedy, in his inaugural address in 1961, said, "Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate." And his negotiation skills helped avoid a nuclear war in 1962 in the Cuban Missile Crisis. Compromise is the act of giving up some part of what was wanted in the process of negotiation. Compromise may be the next best alternative when a true win-win solution is not possible. That is, when there is no solution that gives all parties entirely what they want. Experts in conflict management see compromise as a second tier. a second level of resolving a conflict. The highest level, the first level, is a true win-win. When parties can create an agreement in which everyone gets what they want and it's worked out so that everyone is happy in the end. That's not always possible. Compromise is the next best thing. Everyone gives up something they want. No one's entirely happy, but no one's entirely unhappy either. Fiscal responsibility means managing money in such a way as to fulfill one's obligations to others and oneself. Avoiding excessive debt is an important aspect of fiscal responsibility. Don't borrow more than you can repay, more than you can afford the payments on. Things can happen, jobs can be lost, situations can change, but be reasonable in the use of debt. Civic responsibilities include respect for law, patriotism, participation in political process, and fiscal responsibility as a citizen. Respect for law. Respect for law means that a person obeys the law even when it is unlikely they will be caught if they break the law. It's what you do when no one's looking. Respect for law requires that laws be just and justly enforced. A conscientious person may disobey an unjust law, especially as an act of protest. Okay, I'm going to start this slide over again. Respect for law means that a person obeys the law even when it is unlikely they will be caught if they break the law. It's what you do when no one's looking. Respect for law requires that laws be just and justly enforced. A conscientious person may disobey an unjust law, especially as an act of protest. For example, in the old segregated South, there were lunch counters that would not serve African Americans. Many protesters, some black and some white, would go into these lunch counters and they would sit in and break the law by demanding that the African Americans be served along with everyone else. They would be arrested and taken to jail and usually released with a fine. Sometimes they might be beaten up. But they were doing that out of a sense that the law was unjust. That's different from simply breaking the law because it's convenient or you had an impulse to do so. The Boston Tea Party protested an unjust tax. So our founders saw that Britain's tax system was unjust. They were being taxed, but they were not being represented in Parliament. So they threw tea into the Boston Harbor to protest their treatment by the British. Just laws should be respected, but unjust laws may be broken by good people for good reason. Aristotle said, "I have gained this by philosophy. I do without being ordered what some are constrained to do by their fear of the law." Patriotism means the love of country. Patriotism does not mean mindlessly supporting the government of a country if it is unjust or loses popular consent. Our founders loved America, their country. Many of them loved being part of the British Empire. But when they were mistreated by the government in London, they overthrew British rule when the British government enacted unjust laws for the colonies. I think we would all call our founders patriots, but yet they did turn against the government of Great Britain that was over them at the beginning of the Revolution. They felt that George III and Parliament had violated their natural rights, had violated the social contract, and therefore, going by Locke's theory, they had the right to reject that government and implement a new government of their own. Mark Twain said, "Loyalty to country always, loyalty to government when it deserves it." Participation in the political process. Participation in the political process is important to ensure that the government reflects the will of the people. Voting gives popular consent and thus legitimacy to the government. Other ways to participate in the political process include running for office and getting involved in political campaigns. It can also involve donating money to political campaigns. Fiscal responsibility, not physical with a PH, but fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility, as a civic responsibility rather than an individual one, means holding government officials accountable for avoiding excessive debt or spending. However, politicians often find that spending money garners more support than being fiscally responsible. Voters may be short-sighted, preferring to get something from the government today without considering the future problems of excessive government debt. Citizens versus non-citizens. Citizens of the United States have some rights, privileges, and duties, and responsibilities that non-citizens do not. For example, citizens may vote. Male citizens must sign up for selective service. In wartime, they may be drafted. When I turned 18, I had to go to the post office and fill out a little card and put it in the mail to register for selective service. Today, you would do it on the internet. But even today, if I want to take a community college class in programming or something, I have to prove that I signed up for selective service. I have to give them a number and they put it in and they check to see that I signed up for it. I did. It's not a problem. But if you don't, then you are not eligible for many federal programs, and it can be held against you for the rest of your life. So young men have to sign up for selective service. Citizens cannot be deported, that is, forced to leave their country. However, most constitutional protections apply to anyone on U.S. soil, including non-citizens. One of the reasons that terrorists are kept at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba on a military base that we have there rather than being brought back to the United States is that they have fewer rights on Cuban soil, even when we're leasing it from a military base, than they would if they were on American soil. Naturalization. United States citizenship is acquired by immigrants through naturalization. Naturalization refers to the process of becoming a citizen. The Constitution has this to say about naturalization in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. The Congress shall have power to establish an uniform rule of naturalization. So Congress has the power to create the rules for who may become a citizen of the United States. Because that's written out in the Constitution, that's an express or enumerated power of Congress, the legislative branch. Naturalization, eligibility, and process. This changes from time to time. To see the current version, we will click on this website. Okay, this is the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website. And here we have the rules for citizenship through naturalization. There are forms that have to be filed. There's a test that has to be passed. To qualify for naturalization, you have been a permanent resident for at least 5 years and meet all other eligibility requirements. Then you can visit the Path to Citizenship page. You have been a permanent resident for 3 years or more and meet all eligibility requirements to file as a spouse of a U.S. citizen. There's a different set of rules for naturalization of spouses of U.S. citizens. You have qualifying service in the U.S. Armed Forces and meet all other eligibility requirements. Did you know that non-citizens serve in the United States military? They do. That's one of the routes to citizenship. Your child may qualify for naturalization if you are a U.S. citizen. The child was born outside the United States. The child is currently residing outside the U.S. and all other eligibility requirements are met. Visit our Citizenship Through Parents page for more information. And you may already be a U.S. citizen and not need to apply for naturalization if your biological or adoptive parents became U.S. citizens before you reached the age of 18. And if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen. And to gain U.S. citizenship, you have to pass a civics test. There's a practice test here. I think we might do this in class to see how many of our students are ready for citizenship. Character. Certain character traits are beneficial to individuals and society. These include honesty, courage, compassion, civility, and loyalty. To educate a person in the mind, but not in morals, is to educate a menace to society, Theodore Roosevelt said. It's important that we have the right character, not just the right knowledge. Honesty is an important characteristic for the individual as it establishes credibility with others. People trust you because they know that you've been honest in the past. Honesty is important to society because it reduces conflicts and contributes to order and progress. Honesty helps us work together to achieve important goals. If we trust each other, we can work together better. If we don't trust each other, sometimes we can't work together at all. Courage is important in a society. Courage is needed to stand up to injustice within a society and threats from outside of society. Courage helps an individual assert her or his rights in a conflict in an appropriate and effective way. We need courage to speak up for ourselves or for others. We need courage to do the right thing. So many times doing the wrong thing is easier. It took courage for Martin Luther King to lead the civil rights movement. It took courage for George Washington to lead the Revolutionary Army. It took courage for men to go to the moon. It takes courage for us to do the right thing on a day-to-day basis. Compassion. Compassion drives citizens to care for those most in need. Hammurabi's law code, for example, stated that the purpose of law is compassion for the weak, the widows, and the orphans. If you think about it, the law should be rooted in compassion. The strong don't generally need protection. It's the weak. It's those who have lost, those who don't have connections or family that need help the most. And so we've had written law codes for thousands of years, and one of the purposes of those law codes is to protect those who cannot take care of themselves, who would not do well in Hobbes' state of nature. Civility greases the wheel of society by facilitating interaction. Civility is good manners. Civility is being nice even if you disagree with someone. It avoids unnecessary conflicts and the damaging expense that these cause. We're not always going to get along with each other, but we can be agreeable even when we disagree. We can be nice even when we're on opposite sides of a conflict. And sometimes because of civility, we can have a breakthrough and resolve a conflict that if we are not civil, will never be resolved in a manner that isn't damaging to all parties. Loyalty. Loyalty builds trust in relationships. Trust helps people to work together. Loyalty must be mutual to last. In conclusion, citizens of a republic have individual and civic responsibilities. Citizens and non-citizens of a nation have different rights and responsibilities. Citizenship is gained through a process called naturalization. Character traits such as honesty, courage, compassion, civility, and loyalty are beneficial to individuals and to society.